Hello, welcome to my presentation. Today I'll be interviewing my mom, Nancy Vekve. We are interviewing in my house on this lovely Monday evening, which is also Veterans Day. How do I say this? Thank you, I appreciate you, veterans. My mom, Nancy, has lived in Bellingham, Washington most of her life. Nancy is also a part-time entrepreneur. I'm going to be asking you some questions about living in Bellingham and like your experiences with the police mostly. The first one is, can you describe your first memorable interaction with the police in this community?
Okay, this is Nancy. My earliest memory was I was quite a young girl, probably elementary age, when I remember that my dad was very upset about this lady coming onto our property, wanting to look at our honeybees because we had a few honeybee hives at our acreage, and she came in and said that she was some sort of bee inspector, but she didn't like maybe warn that she was coming, and she was checking for a disease called foul brood that apparently bees get, and it's highly transmissible. But anyway, my dad refused, and he said, I don't want you coming on our property. And lo and behold, it wasn't a day later where she comes in with a policeman to make sure nothing got out of hand. And so the policeman supported this bee inspector, and but it was very civil and peaceful, and she smoked out her bees, and they all died, and I'll never know whatever happened to foul brood. So that's my earliest memory.
All right. That's quite unusual. I didn't even know those things are a thing. All right. In your opinion, how have police practices or attitudes toward the community changed over the years?
Well, honestly, I don't have. I think that the policemen and women have been supportive, and I feel like they've been doing their job. And over the years, I haven't found anything that they have done to me personally, or I wasn't represented rightly. I feel like they've been nice, and whenever they've been called for some sort of an emergency, they've responded, and I just feel fully supported. Changes, I don't. Is the question if there's any changes?
It just says, has it changed over the years? How has it changed over the years?
Not to me personally. I don't think they've changed. I think they've always been supportive, and in my experience, in my dealings, I think they've been supportive and helpful.
All right. Let's move on to the next question. Was there any local events or incidents that affected your view of the police? It could be anything.
That's changed my view.
Yeah, here, let me repeat the question. Were there any significant local events or incidents that affected your view of the police?
No, there hasn't been any events locally that I've been involved in that's changed my opinion, other than been very supportive. We had a neighborhood dispute over a real foul neighbor, and they were called. The police were called, and I thought and then a group of neighbors came together, and they wanted to discuss the incident, and he was very helpful, and going about it, he was very helpful. I felt as our neighborhood that we were heard.
All right. I'm glad. All right. Fourth question. Do you think the police are more or less trusted by the community now compared to when you first moved here? Why?
Well, honestly, I think it's the social media. I think the social media has put a lot of fear into the community because what they watch on TV over and over. It's on every social media platform, whether Instagram, news, local news, online news. And I just think that we're inundated with all these scary stories. I'm not dismissing that there could be terrible things happening, but in my community, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. I haven't been friends with anybody or family that's had problems with the police. So the change is social media. I think that the more we see it, and then we never turn it off, the more fearful we become.
Exactly.
I think that fear feeds on fear.
Exactly. That's pretty much what I've been thinking of, really. But I like to hear it. What do you think could improve the relationship between the police and the community today? Okay.
Well, I think communication. I do. There is a difference. I could say that. I don't know what it's called, but I sometimes go out at night to a social event or a class at night, and it's dark, and I do notice that there's. I don't know what this group is, but I see them walking the street.
Oh yeah.
They're wearing navy blue vests, or I think they're green sometimes.
Blue vests?
And they're not policemen, but they're security, and they walk around town kind of like watching things, and if they notice things that need to be dealt with. And I think if it's a domestic dispute or by maybe people on the street, I think they're able to talk to these people, and if it escalates, I'm pretty sure they would actually call the police to come in and remedy these problems. But sometimes I really like it because when I go to these places in town when it's dark, I like the security presence because I feel sometimes uneasy going alone to some of these events, and I feel assured, and I feel better about going when I see security like outside the buildings, and which I think the city of Bellingham must have hired. I don't know what to call these groupings.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
But there's usually two people. They come in pairs. So
yes.
When I was a young person and growing up, we didn't have that. So I like that change.
Yeah, I agree. Isn't this like they just did that last year or something?
I've noticed it in the last 2 years. I don't know what to call these community helpers, or if they're volunteers, or if they're paid. I don't know.
I think they're possibly volunteers, but I do notice some. Yeah, when I go to Bellingham, yeah, they just patrol the streets. I know what you're talking about.
They're on, lots of times they're on foot.
On foot, yes. It's great exercise. Yeah, but I know what you're talking about, and those are a huge help because they're not cleaning up the streets; they're just making the streets more safe.
They're safe, make you feel safe.
Oh, of
I
course.
like that, and I like that sometimes we as a community put too much on the police when they really probably should need to go to a counselor rather than to a cop. So maybe this is a buffer between the police department and alleviating their load with having these other groupings of volunteers, or they may be paid. I don't know, but I appreciate that.
All right. Yeah, me too. Especially as a woman. Yeah. Yeah, we always have to stick together. Girl code. Oh, that's all right. Well, thank you, Nancy, for being the person I can interview. This has been a pleasure, and
Thank you for asking.
Of course. Well, good to know more about your influence with the police. All right.
Thank you.